Hi and welcome back. Let's have a quick recap what we have done in our last video. So the last videos we discussed about the data types and the variables, where we understood data types are of two types, primitive and derived. Among the primitive we have the byte, int, short, long, where we save the integer numbers, char for saving a character, float and double for saving a decimal number, and boolean for saving a true or a false value. Now the data types are basically to make a declaration that what type of value are you going to save inside your program. And then we have the derived data types, which we are going to derive it from the existing primitive data types. For example, a class or an array, where we are going to create the collections of variables, but we are not going to discuss a lot about derived data types in these sessions. Might be we are going to discuss it in the upcoming sessions. We'll have the separate chapters on it for the classes and the arrays. Now I can use the data types to declare my variables, and we know that variables are used to store the value. Variable, here you can see the example. I have declared an int variable x where I'm assigning a value 10, double variable y where I'm assigning 10.5 value, and if you see the float variable, I am making a suffix of letter f. A value f is suffixed to my 3.4 value, and that is assigned to the variable f, which is of type float. And if you see the variable y, which was earlier declared as double, is being tried to assign into the float type variable. But since double has a higher size than the float, it is of 8 bytes, float is of 4 bytes. So to convert this value from higher data type size, we have to typecast it. So we are making an explicit typecast, right? So when you are saving a double into a float variable, you have to either suffix a letter f or you have to typecast it using the float. Now when we are declaring up the variables, if you see, I have used the variable names as x, y, f, f1. So is it a good convention to write short names, or should our names should be meaningful, right? The variable name should be meaningful. So there are some conventions which we should follow. The first thing is your variable name should be meaningful. For example, if I'm going to take a variable name to save age, so I should keep it as int age equals to 10 instead of taking it as like int I or x or y. So I should write a name. Suppose if I'm going to save let's say the response of an answer, right? So let's say it was a multiple choice question, and when the user is entering up the answer, I want to save it inside some variable. So I'm going to keep it inside like character, char variable, and let's say response. So this would be a better name rather than keeping it like x, y, or z. Next, now whenever we are declaring up some variables, we should always follow some conventions. I have noted down some conventions for you, like your variable name must not start with a numeric value, right? You should never start a variable name with a numeric value. You will get an error if you are doing so. For example, if you are writing up a variable name 1num, right, it is invalid. So this is a invalid variable name. Next, we should not have any white space in the variable name. When I say white space, means it is a blank space, right? So there shouldn't be any blank space between your variable name. Suppose if you have to write your variable name as first name, so don't keep it first space name. This will be also an error, and it is going to be a invalid variable name. Now suppose if I have to write up a space, right, I want to make it more readable, I am going to write it as first space name. Since it is invalid, we cannot do it. So what we can do is we can separate the multiple words in the variable with a underscore. So I can write first underscore name is valid variable name. Next we have variable name must not have any special characters. For example, you cannot use any symbol apart from underscore. If you want to use a dash or @ symbol, a question mark, exclamation, so we all the variable names are going to be invalid. We cannot use any symbol, any special character except then the underscore. And one very important thing is, whenever you are writing up the programs or you are going to write the projects later on in your college, or you get a job, you are going to write up the projects, always try to follow the camel case convention for name, right? So in the camel case convention, let's say if the first, you have two words in your variable name, the first word will be in the lowercase and the next word, the subsequent words would be in the initial caps. That means the first letter of your variable would be in uppercase. So here if you see the first name, I'm writing the first in the lowercase and the name letter N is uppercase, right? Similarly, suppose if I'm going to write up house address. So house is in lowercase, address A letter is capital. So this is very important that we should always follow the naming convention. Also, your variable name should be meaningful. It can be of like writing up in couple of words so that it is more meaningful. For example, first name. If I go and write it as FN, no one will understand. Like your co-developer won't understand what actually you are trying to write in this. Okay, so the today's topic is operators. What are operators? Why do we need operators? Operators are basically used to do some operation on the data that is accepted from the user. For example, we can make some calculations or we can check the data inserted by the user. Now, let's take an example of the calculator. If you want to do some calculations, you have to enter some input, right? Like for example, 2 plus 2. So let's say on the calculator, I want to do a 2 plus 2. So this 2 is actually a value which will be stored inside the variables, right? And another number, let's take a different number, 3. So this second number is also a value which will be inserted inside some variable, right? So we can think of that I am going to have a variable, let's call it as num1, in which I am going to insert a value 2 and another variable as num2 in which I will accept the value as 3, right? Now here if you see this plus is a symbol which will actually not go inside a data type in a variable, but it is a operator, right? It is an operator which is going to do the operation on these two variables, and plus is an operator which will require two operands, right? So these are also called as like binary operators. They require at least two values. They require two values to do some operation. If I'm simply going to write like 2 plus, right? If I write 2 plus, it will not make any sense. It will not make any logic. We cannot add just only 2 plus, right? We have to provide another number which will be added inside the 2, right? So similarly, we are going to have two variables, two values to use the plus operator, right? So what are the different other type of operators? Like we have plus. So what are the other operators? So there is a plus, a minus, a multiplication operator, then a divide operator and a mod operator, right? Now, if you look at this mod operator, you would be thinking it like a percentage, right? Which is actually not calculating the percentage. It is going to calculate the remainder when the number 1 is divided by the number 2, right? So here, how are we going to use these operators? These are the operators which are called as arithmetic operator, right? Arithmetic operators. These are basically used to do the arithmetic operations. You can calculate values. You can add, subtract, multiply, right? Divide and find the remainder when first value is divided by the second. Let's take a case where we are writing up an application for think of a bank, and a user is going to take the loan from the bank and he has to pay it back inside the, let's say 12 monthly EMIs. Okay, now we have to calculate like what will be the interest. So for that we need to do some mathematical calculations, right? We need to calculate the interest on the total amount, then add it and then divide it by, let's say 12, and we have to find out the monthly EMI. So for that you would require the arithmetic operators. Now to use the arithmetic operators, as I said, we need two operands, right? So I'll write it over here. Arithmetic operators require two operands. Right? When I say operand, means the two values, right? The left and the right value, left operand and right operand. So for example, if I say int result or int sum equals to num1 plus num2. So if you see this expression, int sum is equal to num1 plus num2. So here on the right side, you are doing a calculation, num1 plus num2. Num1 is added to the num2 and then value is saved inside the sum, right? Remember, neither the value of num1 nor the value of num2 will be changed. Num1 and num2 will still remain 2 and 3 even after this statement, but the value of sum would be changed, right? Sum is just initialized and its value will become 5. So I have created up a file over here, arithmetic operator demo. I have not yet written any instructions, but let's go and write the same instruction that we have understood over here in the readme file. We are going to declare one variable int. Let's call it as num1 equals to 10 and num2 is equal to, let's call it 20. So two variables, 10 and 20. We have to calculate the sum. Int sum equals to num1 plus num2. Right now you would be thinking this is very simple, right? Anyone can give a quick answer, 10 and 20. But actually when it is a project, right, it is a big application. At that time the calculations can be bigger. Even if they are smaller, you are not sitting there to check it, right? It should be automated. So you are writing the instructions that when the user is going to enter a value 1 and a value 2, so they should be added and the result should be saved somewhere, and then this result can be used, right? Up till now, we have used the values hard-coded in our program. If I run this program 10 times, it will always calculate the sum of 10 and 20. We have not asked the user how to enter some value, right? So that will be also done in the upcoming videos. We will understand how to accept the value from the user to make this program more dynamic, right? But for now, we will keep on adding the value from our side in the program. So value 10 and 20 needs to be added, and I'm going to display this output, system.out.println. Let's say sum is concatenated with the output of sum, right? So whenever you have a integer value to be displayed and you want to do some formatting, you can add the string text also with it. So for example, sum equals to concatenation with sum. Now see the magic over here. When I am putting the plus symbol between two integer value, it is going to add it, right? It is going to add it. But when I am putting the plus symbol, right, plus operator with a string and a integer value, then it is going to concatenate it. Means it is going to join the values and make it a complete string. So let's see the output of this program. For this, we'll go to a terminal, open the terminal, go to the folder for the day, that is session 5, compile our program, arithmetic operator demo.java, and it is compiled successfully. The class file is generated and we are going to check the output. So for this, I again need to give the main class name. The main class is the one which contains the main method. Let's run this. And you see the output is beautifully printed. Sum is equal to 30, right? If you just go and write like sum, even then also your program is going to work, right? But the actual output won't be meaningful. If you show this output like sum is equal to 30 or 30, so that makes it more meaningful that we are calculating some sum, right? Okay, now how can we use the other operators or from within the arithmetic operators? Let's go and calculate the product. So product is equal to num1 multiplied by num2. Now if you see, this multiplication symbol is actually a star, asterisk, right? So this asterisk is going to be used as a multiplication symbol. Unlike mathematics, in mathematics you have a let's say this kind of multiplication symbol, which actually we are not going to use in the computers. And here in the programming, we are going to use the multiplication symbol as asterisk. Now this will multiply num1 with num2 and the result will be saved inside the product, right? So let's go and print the product. And similarly here, I'm going to write the sum. Fine. Quickly, I'll also put the remainder value, right? Let's calculate the remainder value. Subtraction, I believe it is very easy for you guys. You can apply it like we have done a plus. We can also do the minus, then multiplication, division. I'm going to quickly find out how to use the remainder. Okay, so let's say remainder num1 is divided by num2. Let's check the remainder value, and sorry, here it should be a mod symbol. Yeah, so remainder and fine. So now I have the num1 value as 10, num2 value as 20, and so we'll calculate the sum, product, and the remainder. So let's go and compile this, run it. So the sum is 30, 10 plus 20 equals to 30, product is 200, 10 multiplied by 20 is equal to 200, and remainder it is showing as 10. Now see, whenever you are dividing a int value by another int, it will not calculate it to the decimal places. Okay, so it will only find the value before the decimal, and that value is printed, right? But here, since we are finding the remainder and 10 is less than 20, so it was not divisible, the whole value has come as a remainder. But suppose if this value was larger, let's take it like 30 or 35. Okay, so now 20 once is 20, so that will be divided, and then 15 will remain as the remainder. So let's quickly check the output. See, the output is 15. Now I'll show you that integer divided by another integer will not be a it will not result into a decimal value, right? So here, let's say I'll call it as quotient and num1 divided by num2. So num1 is bigger, 35, and let's find the quotient. Compilation, execution, and you see the output is 1. Let's reduce the value, put it as 7 and 2. We'll compile it again, run it, and now you see the sum is 7 plus 2, 9, 7 multiplied by 2, 14, 7 divided by 2, the remainder will be 1, and the quotient, the answer when you are dividing 7 by 2, the quotient is 3. So it is not calculating the decimal part, right? It is not doing a complete division. When you want to do a complete division, your value should be in the double form, right? You should have a double form. So let's try to take a double variable, double, and d1 equals, let's say, 15, and double d2, or d2 is equal to 2. Okay, so I'm taking up a double variable d1 and d2. I'm just going to print one output over here, that is for the division part, says out, and here divide result of double concatenated by d1 divided by d2. Okay, so now if I'm going to run this, in case if you have a doubt that earlier when we were writing up a plus symbol, it actually concatenated. So is this also going to concatenate it? Let's quickly check it. So here you see it is calculating the value and then concatenating, right? So 7.5, divide result of double, 7.5. Now divide result of double is a string, and then we have a plus symbol. So in actually it has calculated first the division part, right? d1 divided by d2. And when the result was returned, it was concatenated with this string. And that's why you are getting divide result of double and not like 15/2. Okay. Now why this thing executed first? Why not plus symbol executed first? Why not it printed up the whole thing as 15 divided by 2 as a text? Because the arithmetic operator, among the arithmetic operators, you have a priority, right? Precedence operator, precedence, very important point. When we talk about the operator precedence, some operators have lower precedence and some operators have higher precedence, right? Among the arithmetic operators, when I look at the plus and minus, these have a lower precedence, right? Lower precedence. So these both operators are going to execute later than the other ones. For example, you have a in maths, right? Whenever you want to do a arithmetic execution, you always follow the BODMAS, right? For example, the brackets the parenthesis, right? And of, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So in the mathematics, we follow this rule, but the same is not applied in your programming, right? In the programming, you are going to follow the operator precedence. So as I said over here, plus and minus are lower precedence, and the other, that is the multiplication and division, have a higher precedence. Okay, so if in an expression, I'll call this thing as an expression, right? This whole thing is an expression. So if inside an expression we have a plus and a multiplication symbol, then the higher precedence will execute first. Got it? For example, let's say I'm going to write system.out.println 4 divided by 2 plus 2, right? So now we need to understand, if it is a 2 plus 2 first, assume if it is a 2 plus 2 first, then the result is going to be 1, right? But if it is 4 divided by 2, which is executing first, then the output will be like 2 plus 2, and that is equal to 4, right? So let's run this and quickly see the output. So the answer is 4. Why 4? We have two operators over here, a division and a plus. So if we are having a higher precedence and a lower precedence operator, the first calculation will be made between the higher precedence operands. So 4 divided by 2 is calculated first. So the result becomes 2 plus 2, right? And then 2 plus 2 equals to 4 is calculated. Now suppose if I have a 4 divided by 2 multiplied by 2. Now since it is same precedence, right? They both are higher precedence. Now whether it is going to calculate like 4 divided by 4 or 4 divided by 2 multiplied by 2, right? So this is something we have to understand, that whenever we have the same precedence, right? When we have all the operators as lower precedence or all the operator are higher precedence, then the execution will be from left to right, right? So when I say left to right, that means the first operator operands will execute first. So that is 4 divided by 2. That means the answer would be 2 multiplied by 2, which will be again equal to 4. Suppose if I go and write it, 4 multiplied by 2 divided by 2. So here the first execution will be 4 multiplied by 2, right? Because the left side we have a multiplication operator. So the output is again going to be 4 multiplied by 2, that is equal to 8. 8 divided by 2, answer will be 4. Right. So we have to understand the arithmetic operators, how we are going to calculate. If we have the integer values, the result would be an integer. If we have a double values, the result would be a double value. Okay. And if we are having operators with different precedence, it will first execute the higher operator and its operands. And if we have the same precedence operator, it will execute from left to right. So that's all for this video. Thank you everyone. Bye.